corporations are understood as systems, in fact, organizations to make many people, 100,000 sometimes, working together to produce something. Now, do you think it's very normal? How can you do this? Imagine that, for example, you want to create a car manufacturing business and you go in the street and you hire 1,000 or 10,000 people and you want to produce cars with them. Hundreds of cars, thousands, 10,000 cars with them. How can you do this? How can you align so many individuals? In reality, it sounds like magic, you know, it's magical. So this can only work if the system, the organization, generates some collective mental models, some sort of collective belief so that people can be aligned together. The problem is that we come from the past and the world has changed. So many corporations still have, at some places, they still operate, in fact, with old business models, an old software. Let me give you some examples. There's a famous practice in our business called business cases. And these were born, let's say, 40, 50 years ago, mainly in business schools and management schools. And they are based on a kind of forecast of the future. It's an exercise of forecasting, actually. And in order to produce an articulated view of the future. And this is a pretty good idea if you live in a predictable world, to predict what will happen next. So it helps you to manage risks and opportunities. But now that everybody has been shaped to understand that forecasting is good, it's about de-risking and so on, what do you do if the world becomes unpredictable? So what was extremely logical before, having this model that we should predict, a good manager should predict, suddenly you are an unpredictable world. It's a nonsense to spend so much time trying to predict things that are unpredictable, and it's even more a nonsense to continue to believe that your predictions are good. So you see, I heard sometimes some templates, you know, in business cases. I've seen that where it's written what will be the return on capital employed in year n plus 12. Frankly, who can say what will happen in year n plus 12? Especially if you are an entrepreneur and deal, in fact, with new sort of businesses. So this mental models comes from very old time, and the mental model behind is very simple to understand. It can be framed as this: control is necessary. In fact, if you think about it, it comes from Mr. Frederick Taylor, Taylorism, because for the last 100 years, all of us, we have developed this collective framework here, and we see a corporation as a machine. And in this machine, everything is under control, everything is understood, and we know exactly what we are doing. So you see, this mental model was a good thing. So now it's just a problem to evolve. Let me give you a second one. Airbnb and car sharing system and apps and so on. This is very interesting. My father would have never accepted someone sleeping in his sofa at home. Or he would also never have accepted to rent his own car to an unknown person, someone from outside. In fact, the philosophers today, they call this the merchandization of the cavern. Because it's very strange, but we have two forms of caverns today in the 21st century: home and cars. So for my father or his generation, it would have been absolutely unbelievable, unthinkable to open your car or your home to other people. Today it's something pretty common. So you see that these two examples are positive examples when in fact some corporations and the use of certain systems have changed completely the mental models of almost the world. I mean, almost a civilization. That's really amazing. A smaller example, which is still taught in business schools, there is this idea that when you produce a product or something like that, or a service, there is a market waiting for you somewhere. So there are markets here and there, and in these markets, so market shares are waiting for you. So we all made this game, you know, trying to target a market and imagining how much market share we should steal and so on. But in reality, all markets are created. They have been created. There is no market in nature. So if you continue to think in terms of opportunity, there's an opportunity waiting for us. That's a strong mental model. There's an opportunity. No, all opportunities have been created. So you can start replacing, and that's a good alternative, an opportunity by a possibility. But we have here this mental model making us think that markets exist waiting for us. No, there are no opportunities really. There are possibilities. And if you just start playing with this different model, you open the door for a lot more innovation and transformation. So these are just 3 examples of how mental models are operating in our brain. Remember, none of them is good or bad, correct or incorrect. They are just there. And in this brain, there are some operations made on thousands or millions of little algorithms, individuals, collective beliefs, civilizational, that make me think and operate in this world.